plan no one saw coming. Nobody expected this. Not the analysts, not the fans, not even some of the people inside the league. Coming into the NBA Finals, the basketball world had already prepared the coronation of Victor Wembanyama. The 22-year-old phenomenon had just torn through the Western Conference, dominated the defending champions, won Defensive Player of the Year, and looked every bit like the next face of basketball. The headlines were already writing themselves. A generational superstar, a future dynasty, the beginning of a new era. But after 2 finals games, the conversation has changed dramatically because the player stealing the spotlight isn't Victor Wembanyama, it's Karl-Anthony Towns. And what makes this story so unbelievable is that for years, Cat was the guy people doubted. He was the player critics labeled as talented but inconsistent. The star many believed could put up numbers but couldn't carry a team when the pressure reached its highest level. Now, he's standing directly in front of the most feared young player on earth and forcing him into one of the toughest stretches of basketball he's faced all postseason. Think about that for a second. Wembanyama entered the finals looking unstoppable. He had overwhelmed elite defenses, controlled entire games on both ends of the floor, and turned every matchup into a nightmare. Yet suddenly, everything looks different. Every catch feels harder. Every drive feels more crowded. Every shot feels more contested. Every possession feels like work. And that's exactly what Karl-Anthony Towns wanted. After Game 1, Cat revealed a simple philosophy that has completely changed this series. He wasn't trying to shut Wembanyama down completely. He wasn't trying to do the impossible. His mission was much simpler. Make every moment uncomfortable. Make every touch difficult. Make every basket expensive. And through the first 2 games, that plan has worked far better than anyone expected. The numbers tell part of the story, but the real story is happening between the line. It's in the physical battle, the rebounding wars, the constant pressure, the psychological fight between a superstar trying to take over the league and a veteran determined to prove his entire career wasn't a mistake, because this series isn't only about a championship anymore. It's about redemption. It's about legacy. It's about a player who spent years hearing what he couldn't do, finally showing the world exactly who he has become. And as the finals prepare to shift to New York, one question is suddenly hanging over the entire basketball world. Has Karl-Anthony Towns discovered the blueprint to slow down the most gifted young superstar the NBA has ever seen? Or is Victor Wembanyama preparing a response that could change everything? We're about to find out. Before we continue, let me know where you're watching from today. Drop your city, state, or country in the comments below. And if you believe Cat is playing the best basketball of his career right now, hit the subscribe button and type 1 in the comments. If you think Wembanyama is about to take over this series, type 2. The monster everyone feared before this series started, Victor Wembanyama looked less like a young star and more like a problem the NBA had no answer for. He was not just scoring, he was controlling games. He was blocking shots, grabbing rebounds, bringing the ball up the floor, hitting jumpers, and forcing opponents to change their entire identity just to survive 1 quarter against him. That is what made this finals matchup feel so dangerous for New York. The Knicks were not walking into a normal series. They were walking into a test against a player who could change basketball history. At 7'4", Wembanyama should have been limited to the paint, but instead, he moves like a guard, shoots like a wing, protects the rim like an elite center, and sees the floor like a playmaker. That combination makes every defensive plan feel incomplete. Play him too close, and he attacks the rim. Give him space, and he shoots over the top. Send help, and he finds the open man. Stay home, and he can dominate one-on-one. That was the nightmare facing Karl-Anthony Towns. And the pressure was even heavier because this was not just any Knicks team. This was New York, a city starving for a championship. A fan base that had waited decades to feel this close again. Madison Square Garden was already dreaming about what could happen if the Knicks came home with control of the series. But before they could think about history, they had to survive San Antonio, and that meant surviving Wembanyama. Everyone knew the Spurs would run their offense through him. Everyone knew he would get touches at the elbow, in the post, above the break, and in pick-and-roll actions designed to force confusion. The question was simple: who could make him uncomfortable? The answer turned out to be the player many people least expected. KAT did not beat Wembanyama by trying to be taller, quicker, or more spectacular. He beat him by being stronger, smarter, and more disciplined. He used his body early. He met him before the catch. He forced him away from easy angles. He made him feel contact without losing control. And most importantly, he refused to panic when Wembanyama made highlight plays. That calm changed everything, because when a defender panics against Wembanyama, the game is already over. But Cat stayed patient. He understood the mission. One possession at a time, one bump at a time, one contested shot at a time. And slowly, the most feared player in the series started looking human. The impossible assignment for Karl-Anthony Towns This was the kind of matchup that could either rewrite his reputation or destroy it all over again. Because guarding Victor Wembanyama is not a normal basketball assignment. It is not like guarding a traditional center who wants deep post position every trip. It is not like guarding a stretch big who simply waits at the three-point line. It is not like guarding a wing who needs screens to create space. Wembanyama is all of those things at once. That is what makes him terrifying. He can catch the ball near the rim and finish over anyone. He can face up from the elbow and shoot before a defender even gets close. He can bring the ball down the floor, read the defense, and make the pass that breaks the entire possession open. So when Cat stepped into this matchup, the Knicks were not asking him to do one job. They were asking him to do 5 jobs at the same time. Protect the paint, contest the jumper, hold his ground, avoid foul trouble, and still punish San Antonio on the other end. That is exhausting. But this is where Towns showed something different from the old version of himself. He did not complain. He did not chase highlights. He did not try to prove he was stronger on every single play. He stayed controlled, and that control became the foundation of New York's entire game plan. When Wembanyama floated to the perimeter, KAT followed just enough to make the shot uncomfortable. When Wembanyama tried to drive, KAT used his body to cut off the angle. When Wembanyama posted up, KAT refused to give him clean space. And when the Spurs tried to speed the game up, Towns slowed the battle down. That was the key. He turned Wembanyama's rhythm into work. Instead of letting him flow naturally, KAT made every possession feel like a decision. Shoot now or pass. Drive or reset. Force it or trust the offense. Those little moments matter in the final, because pressure does not always break a player with one dramatic mistake. Sometimes it wears him down quietly, and through the first 2 games, that is exactly what KAT has done. He has not erased Wembanyama. Nobody can do that. But he has made him think, made him fight, and made him earn everything. For a player once doubted in the biggest moments, that might be the strongest statement of his career. Make him work. Karl-Anthony Towns never claimed he had some secret formula to erase Victor Wembanyama. That would be impossible. A player like Wembanyama is too tall, too skilled, too creative, and too unpredictable to be completely shut down. He is going to score. He is going to block shots. He is going to create moments that make the arena explode. But KAT understood something more important. You do not have to stop a superstar from being great. You have to make greatness expensive. That became the heart of New York's plan. Every time Wembanyama touched the ball, Towns wanted him to feel resistance. Not reckless contact, not emotional defense, controlled pressure, a body before the catch, a hand near the release, a strong chest on the drive, a second effort on the rebound, a defender who would not disappear after one move. That is what made the matchup so different. In previous rounds, Wembanyama often dictated the terms. He decided where the possession started. He decided when to shoot, when to pass, and when to attack. Against KAT, those decisions became harder. Towns used his strength to push Wembanyama away from the most comfortable spots on the floor. He forced catches farther from the basket. He made drives begin from awkward angles. He made post touches feel crowded before the help defense even arrived. And when Wembanyama tried to use finesse, KAT stayed attached. When he tried to use length, KAT stayed physical. When he tried to speed up, Cat stayed patient. That patience was everything, because the goal was never to win every possession. The goal was to keep stacking difficult possessions until frustration started to build. One contested jumper, one late clock pass, one rushed move, one lost rhythm. That is how a defensive plan becomes psychological. And on offense, KAT made the problem even bigger for San Antonio. If Wembanyama stayed near the rim, Towns could stretch him to the three-point line. If Wembanyama followed him outside, Brunson and the Knicks had more space to attack. If San Antonio switched a smaller defender onto KAT, he could punish the mismatch inside. That is why this matchup became so painful for the Spurs. KAT was not only defending Wembanyama, he was forcing Wembanyama to defend him, think, move, and react on every possession. And in the NBA Finals, that kind of pressure can change an entire series. Game 1 changed everything. Game 1 was supposed to be the night Victor Wembanyama announced himself on the final stage. Instead, it became the night Karl-Anthony Towns changed the entire tone of the series. From the opening minutes, KAT made it clear that Wembanyama would not get anything easy. He met him early, stayed close without overreacting, and forced him into shots that looked uncomfortable from the moment they left his hand. That was the first surprise. The second surprise was that Towns did not let the defensive assignment drain his offense. When New York needed stability, Cat gave them scoring. When the Knicks needed extra possessions, he attacked the glass. When San Antonio started to believe it could take control, Towns kept dragging New York back into the fight. His rebounds were not just numbers. They were momentum swings. Every offensive board felt like a message. The Spurs could defend for 20 seconds, force a miss, and still watch Towns rip the ball away for another Knicks possession. That kind of play breaks a team mentally, because against a disciplined playoff team, one stop is hard enough. Having to get 2 stops on the same possession is exhausting. And while Brunson delivered late-game brilliance, the foundation of the win was KAT's battle with Wembanyama. He made the young superstar work for space. He made him think before attacking. He turned clean, looks into contested one. He turned confidence into hesitation. That does not mean Wembanyama played badly because he lacks talent. It means KAT forced him into a version of the game he did not want to play. A slower game, a stronger game, a more physical game, a game where every inch had to be earned by the final buzzer. New York had done more than win one road game. They had planted doubt. They had shown San Antonio that this series would not be controlled by fear, hype, or reputation. And for Towns, Game 1 was bigger than a box score. It was proof. Proof that he could defend on the biggest stage. Proof that he could stay calm under pressure. Proof that the same player once questioned for shrinking in playoff moments could now stand in the center of the finals and dictate the fight. Game 1 did not end the series, but it changed the way everyone saw it. Wembanyama answered. But Cat did not move. Game 2 was the moment everyone expected Victor Wembanyama to strike back. And early on, he did. He came out more aggressive, more physical, and clearly determined to remind the world why he had been treated like the most dangerous player in the series. He attacked faster. He looked for contact. He tried to put pressure on New York before the Knicks could settle into their defensive rhythm. For a few moments, it felt like the response had arrived. But Karl-Anthony Towns did not panic. That was the most important part. In the past, a big highlight from an opponent might have changed the way people viewed Cat's body language. But this version of Towns stayed calm. He did not force bad shots. He did not chase revenge plays. He simply went back to the plan. Stay physical, stay disciplined, make him work. When Wembanyama tried to attack from the post, Towns held his ground. When he faced up from distance, KAT stayed close enough to bother the release. When San Antonio tried to create switches, New York communicated, rotated, and kept the pressure connected. And on the other end, Towns made Wembanyama defend too. That mattered, because Cat's shooting pulled him away from the rim. His rebounding forced him into contact. His movement made San Antonio choose between protecting the paint and respecting the perimeter. That constant decision-making slowly drained the Spurs. Game 2 proved that Game 1 was not an accident. Wembanyama adjusted, KAT adjusted back. And that is what separates a good performance from a real finals blueprint. By the fourth quarter, the matchup had become a test of patience. San Antonio needed Wembanyama to create a takeover moment. New York needed Towns to survive one more wave. He did more than survive. He contested. He rebounded. He stayed composed. And when the Knicks closed the door, the message became impossible to ignore. This was no longer just about Wembanyama being slightly off. This was about KAT forcing the series into his kind of fight. 2 games, 2 Knicks wins, and 1 veteran big man turning doubt into control. The reputation he had to escape. For years, Karl-Anthony Towns lived with a label he could not shake. Talented, but not tough enough. Skilled, but not reliable enough. Great in the regular season, but questionable when the lights became too bright. That reputation followed him everywhere. Every playoff loss brought it back. Every quiet fourth quarter made it louder. Every emotional reaction became another clip for critics to use against him. And that is why this finals performance feels different. Because Cat is not just playing against Victor Wembanyama. He is playing against the old version of his own story. The version that said he could not be trusted. The version that said he could score, but not lead. The version that said he had the talent of a superstar, but not the presence of a champion. Now, possession by possession, he is challenging all of it. Not with loud speeches, not with drama, not by trying to prove everyone wrong in one reckless moment. He is doing it with discipline, with rebounding, with physical defense, with smart spacing, with the kind of quiet toughness that wins in June. That is what makes this transformation powerful. Towns did not suddenly become talented. He always had talent. What changed is how he is using it. In New York, he looks more connected to winning. He understands when to attack, when to pass, when to take contact, and when to trust the system around him. That maturity is showing up at the perfect time, because the finals do not reward reputation. They expose reality. And right now, the reality is clear. KAT is giving the Knicks exactly what they need. He is not trying to be the loudest star on the floor. He is trying to be the most useful one. For a player who has heard criticism for nearly his entire career, that may be the ultimate answer. Not arguing, not explaining, just winning. And if New York finishes this job, people may look back at these first 2 games as the moment Karl-Anthony Towns stopped being judged by what he failed to do before and started being remembered for what he finally became. New York did not leave Cat alone. The biggest mistake would be thinking Karl-Anthony Towns is doing this by himself. He is the face of the matchup. He is the body standing in front of Victor Wembanyama. He is the player absorbing the pressure, the contact, and the spotlight. But New York's plan only works because the entire team is connected behind him. Every time Wembanyama catches the ball, the Knicks are already moving. One defender shades toward the lane, another watches the corner, a third is ready to stunt and recover before San Antonio can punish the help. That timing matters, because against a passer like Wembanyama, help defense can become dangerous. If it comes too early, he finds the open shooter. If it comes too late, he is already at the rim. So the Knicks have played the middle perfectly. They show bodies without fully selling out. They crowd space without losing their assignment. They make Wembanyama see traffic before he sees a clean lane. OG Anunoby's strength, length, and discipline give New York another layer of resistance. Jalen Brunson's leadership keeps the offense calm when the game tightens, and the coaching staff has clearly built a plan that understands both Wembanyama's greatness and KAT's limitation. That is what makes it smart. They are not asking Towns to be perfect. They are asking him to be solid, physical, and connect. Then everyone else fills the gaps. On offense, the same balance appears. Brunson bends the defense. KAT spaces the floor. The wings crash, cut, and rotate into open areas. The result is a Knicks team that does not rely on one spectacular answer. They rely on pressure from every angle. That is why San Antonio looks uncomfortable. The Spurs are not just trying to solve talent. They are trying to solve a team that keeps changing the picture every few seconds. And in the finals, that is exhausting. For KAT, this may be the perfect environment. He does not have to carry everything alone. He only has to win his role, trust the help, and keep making the simple play with force. That is how a player with years of criticism can finally look free. Not because the pressure disappeared, but because New York gave him a structure strong enough to carry it. New York becomes the stage. Now the series moves to New York, and that changes everything. Because Madison Square Garden is not just another building. It is pressure, history, noise, expectation, and emotion packed into one arena. For the Knicks, this is the moment their fan base has been waiting for across generations. A finals game back in New York. A team 2 wins away from something the city has dreamed about for decades. And right in the middle of it stands Karl-Anthony Towns, the kid from nearby New Jersey. The player who grew up close enough to understand what Knicks basketball means when the city truly believes. That is what makes this next chapter so dangerous for San Antonio. Because New York is not just bringing home court advantage. It is bringing belief. Every rebound from Cat will sound louder. Every defensive stop on Wembanyama will feel bigger. Every Brunson bucket will shake the building. And every Spurs mistake will feel heavier than it did in San Antonio. But this is also where the challenge becomes harder. Wembanyama is too special to stay quiet forever. He has the pride, talent, and competitive fire to respond. The Spurs will adjust. They may try to get him deeper catches, attack KAT early, force fouls, and make New York's defense collapse faster. That is the next test. Can Towns stay disciplined when the emotions rise? Can the Knicks keep their structure when the Garden turns wild? Can New York balance aggression with control? That may decide the series. Because the first 2 games proved Cat has a plan, Game 3 will prove whether that plan can survive desperation. If he keeps Wembanyama uncomfortable, the Knicks move closer to history. If Wembanyama breaks through, the entire finals could swing back open. That is why this moment feels so massive. This is not just basketball strategy anymore. This is legacy under bright light. And for Cat, New York offers the one thing every doubted star eventually needs. A stage big enough to change the story forever, the lesson behind the battle. This finals matchup is bigger than one defender against one superstar. It is a reminder that greatness is not only about talent. Victor Wembanyama has rare gifts. His size, skill, timing, and creativity make him one of the most unique players basketball has ever seen. But even rare talent must learn how to respond when the game becomes uncomfortable. That is the lesson waiting for him. Sometimes the next level is not about adding another move. Sometimes it is about patience, balance, physicality, trust. Knowing when to dominate with finesse and when to win the simple battle closer to the rim. For Karl-Anthony Towns, the lesson is different. His story proves that a player's reputation does not have to be permanent. Criticism can follow you for years, but one stage, one series, one disciplined stretch of basketball can force people to look again. KAT did not change the series by being perfect. He changed it by being prepared. He accepted the hard assignment. He trusted the team behind him. He stayed calm when Wembanyama pushed back. And instead of chasing applause, he focused on doing the difficult work that winning demands. That is a human lesson, too. In sports and in life, people will remember your mistakes. They will doubt your growth. They will try to define you by the moments when you fell short. But growth is real when you keep showing up with discipline, humility, and courage. The Knicks are not ahead because of one man alone. They are ahead because a team chose connection over ego, strategy over panic, and toughness without losing control. That is the kind of basketball that can inspire people beyond the court. Compete hard, respect the opponent, stay peaceful, stay focused, and never let yesterday's criticism decide tomorrow's story. Now the world waits to see what comes next. Will Wembanyama rise with a historic response, or will KAT and the Knicks keep pushing toward a championship that could change New York basketball forever? If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share this video with another NBA fan. And before you leave, comment below. Type 1 if you believe Cat has found the blueprint. Type 2 if you believe Wembanyama is still about to take over. Type 3 if you think this finals is becoming a legacy-defining series for both stars.